Story 1. For those of us from dysfunctional families, the fact is that your children will not have a large family or the traditional sense of family. There is nobody to go back home to for holidays, nobody to celebrate your small victories with, nobody guaranteed to accept and support you in your hardest moments, nobody to guide you through new challenges, nobody to advocate for you when you cannot advocate for yourself, and nobody to reminisce with about the fundamental formative years of your life. There is no camaraderie. Story 2. Grief. I did not realize it could gut you and make you take years to recover, and who knows how much longer to actually get over it. Story 3. More and more metaphorical doors close for you every year. When you are in your late teens, it feels like you have a world of possibilities open to you. As you get older, you have fewer opportunities that are still viable for a number of reasons. It could be financial, it could be health, it could be family burdens, or just simply aging out of qualifying for certain opportunities. Eventually, your options for how to move forward in life become severely limited. Story 4. Sometimes people leave and never come back. I mean this in several ways: death, relationships, friendships, and so on. I never knew how lonely life could be sometimes. It is not always like this, but when it is, it feels like a big bout of existential dread. Story 5. Rent is due regardless of your situation. If you cannot figure it out, you can become homeless with very little notice. Many people are barely managing. Story 6. Realizing how quiet life becomes. Friends get busy, parents grow older, and suddenly you are dealing with everything alone, with a smile on your face so no one notices you are breaking inside. Story 7. You and most of the people you love will eventually drift apart. There may be no big falling out or fight. You will suddenly wake up and realize it has been years or even decades since you have seen or talked to them. To fade away is difficult. Story 8. Working for pretty much ever. Even with a nice career, it is just day after day, week after week, year after year. So much of my life passed me by trapped in this place. Story 9. Realizing that you are the only surviving person who has those memories from your childhood vacations means that when you die, those memories will no longer exist. Watching your loved ones die while you focus on building a life and working to save money, you just wake up one day and you are on your own. Story 10. Even if you find love, you have to accept that they may outlive you or you may outlive them. If you are lucky, your children will all outlive you. Story 11. Putting your own pet down. I lost many family pets growing up. When you get your own pet, a couple of months old, you buy it food and take it to the veterinarian. Comes to the door to greet you when you come home. Then the day comes when it is best to put a beloved pet down so they no longer suffer. That hurts. Story 12. One day, you can be struck by how uncaring and empty someone can be. People with mechanical minds. Story 13. Every year, watching the people who helped build you, teach you, and make you strong die off, and you have to live with it. Every year, you feel parts of your body that were never injured nor a problem hurt more and more, to the point you would do or take anything to make the pain stop. Finally, watching the things you were promised if you worked hard, played by the rules, and lived right turn out to be a giant lie to keep you in line so that the ones who break every rule benefit from your stupidity. Story 14. You can't go back. Some choices stay with you forever, and your life is objectively worse for them. Not saying there isn't happiness and goodness to be had, but you only get older, less attractive, less witty, less motivated after your 20s. It's not like you can't fight against it, but you lose that natural excitement and drive, that natural lust for life you once had because you've seen too much. Nothing is terribly surprising. I know for a fact I have accomplishments, excitement, and positive things to do and experience ahead of me. But the idea that the best days are behind you comes a lot more quickly than you think. It's not because you are miserable or can't still achieve. It's because you know too much, you've seen too much. You can't go back to being innocent and excited by life in that way. Story 15. Your pets will die, and it will hurt every time. You will forget this and keep doing it repeatedly, only to be reminded each time. Story 16. Something that never got through to me is that people my age and my favorite celebrities will start dying, and songs that don't feel that old to me are now considered oldies, like late 1970s music was to me. People I grew up with are as old as I am. I don't know. It sucks. Story 17. how much harder it is to build a support and friend structure later in life. It feels effortless to find and make friends at a young age with only marginal effort. But as you grow older, finding, making, and keeping new friends requires serious effort. I wish there was a warning label attached. Build and maintain your social network early because it will not always be this easy to replenish. Loneliness and feelings of isolation are serious problems that, based on anecdotal evidence, are only growing worse in society. Story 18. The realization that very few people actually care about your well-being. The fact that you can work hard with integrity and still end up with nothing. If you move away or change jobs, nobody misses you because they enjoyed who you were as a person. They will miss what you were doing for them. Similarly, when moving to a new place, people are not excited about you as a person. They are excited about what you can do for them. Story 19. Ugh. So many things. Since most have already been said, I'll mention the loss of authenticity. We overthink everything, how we do things, how we interact with others, and so on. I miss being very close to people and how genuine relationships were. I'd spend the whole day with my friend. I miss the feeling after crying from laughter in class, obsessing over a movie together, creating our own gibberish, talking about the future, feeling comfortable sleeping next to them, doing everything and nothing. It was never awkward or complicated. I didn't live inside my head so much. I just lived. I miss how I felt, how things were. And above all, I miss just being. Story 20. Realizing that the world is mostly bad, and people will betray you no matter how good a person you are. Story 21. Staying alive for no reason other than the desire not to hurt anyone. Jesus was wrong when he said that no one has greater love than laying down their life for their friends. Try staying alive for your friends and family. I guarantee it is harder. Story 22. Seeing the negative sides of the people I used to look up to and realizing just how oblivious I was to them as a child. Story 23. Being alone and realizing any connection was purely because of growing up in the same house and that there is genuinely no connection between anyone in the family. Story 24. Birthdays and Christmas feel stale, at least for me. You really have to work hard to have fun because, as an adult, everything is bleak. You have to create your own happiness, whereas for a child, happiness is delivered through love and upbringing. It is almost effortless. Story 25. Realizing that some friendships are not meant to last and that people you thought would be in your life forever slowly fade out or change. No one really prepares you for the quiet grief of outgrowing people, even when there is no big fallout. Story 26. Missing your family when you move out. I still miss them often even though they are 20 minutes away from my house. Story 27. Having to figure it out on your own or it will not happen. I miss the hand-holding from when I was a kid, even though I thought it was overrated at the time. Adulthood takes persistence, discipline, and the courage to do something you will have to live with the consequences of, whether you do it or not. Also, taxes. Story 28. That you are going to spend the rest of your life undoing what was ingrained in you during your childhood. Story 29. There are parts of your life that end and will never come back. Like when you leave a place you love and know you will never return. Story 30. Losing my mother, not just losing her, but having to watch her suffer from a horrible disease and die before she even reached her mid-60s. Story 31. Looking forward to doing the activity on your day off, then going back to work and realizing this is it. Work, off, work, off, work, off. Story 32. Realizing just how broken the system is. Justice is bought and paid for. Being hardworking does not guarantee success. Story 33. Having children is the most fulfilling and wonderful feeling. However, the anxiety associated with the fear of losing them can be debilitating. Story 34. Having a growing concern about a potential health problem that is getting worse as you get older, but you are still too young for doctors or older friends and family members to take it seriously. So, you just deal with it until other people start to notice because maybe they are right about you being a hypochondriac. It does not matter if you have never overstated an illness in your life. If many people are calling you crazy, then you probably are a little bit crazy. Story 35. Getting dumped. I am sure there is a part of our brain that sends an unreasonable amount of unpleasant chemicals through us to make us refuse to easily let go of awful people. Some explanation related to the continuation of the species, I presume. Story 36. Heartbreak is not just from a significant other. It is also the heartbreak of not achieving what you thought you could, such as not being able to afford to own a house. It includes watching loved ones get sick and die, or the heartbreak of having to tell people you are sick and dying. Even worse is when you do and no one cares. Story 37. For people with toxic parents, realizing you will never have the normal parent moments you see on social media or at your friends' life milestones, like parents making traditional toasts and speeches at weddings, attending baby showers, mother-daughter spa days and brunches, girls' days, Father's Day celebrations, or learning skills from present dads. It is difficult and involves struggling with guilt when deciding how much to help and what to do as their health declines. Story 38. When I was younger, I did not understand the phrase, "You can never go home." Now it hurts. Everything changes, very little for the better, and nostalgia keeps breathing down my neck. Story 39. Not having parents anymore is difficult. You think you understand it, but you never truly do until it happens. You spend a lot of time trying to be independent from them, being your own person, living your own life with your own experiences. But now you wish you had taken that one trip or stayed off your devices, or stayed away from your room when you ate dinner. Story 40. Just being an adult, geez. What I wouldn't give to be 12 again at the Memorial Day picnic at World's End State Park. Story 41. Loneliness of being a man. Growing up, we are told about the difficulties of being a woman, which are valid. However, no one tells you that being a man often means being told that your life has no worth to anyone unless you are a father or husband. Even then, your worth is considered less than your family's. No one cares if you are sad. They tell you to express your emotions, but they do not care when you do. Case in point. Anytime a man complains about anything, there are replies saying, "But women have it harder. Women do face greater challenges, but men suffer in silence and feel guilty for having emotions." Story 42. The loneliness that comes with being a man and having to rely on yourself while everyone relies on you for everything, such as finances and security, is challenging. This is not a complaint, just a statement of reality. I have been working on embracing it and becoming more stoic, but there are definitely some hard, lonely times. Story 43. Having to mediate family disputes that could be resolved by a little introspection on both sides, followed by conceding to the preferences of others occasionally. I don't mind stepping in to smooth things over because it helps the family function better. But when I run low on energy and hear about preventable nonsense, I just shake my head and wish the people I care about would wake up and be adults. Story 44. Not being a perfect parent. My children are so amazing. They truly impress me, and they deserve the best parents. I am just okay. Story 45. You remember things other people just do not. And you wonder if there was even a point to experiencing some things if you are the only one who has any recollection whatsoever. It is a very lonely feeling. Story 46. Having to take responsibility for healing yourself when it was someone else's actions that hurt you in the first place. Story 47. Back pain. No matter what I do, back pain. My father mentioned it occasionally, but every one of my friends has back pain. Story 48. Coming to terms with my childhood home being sold. I went back one last time before my parents downsized and stood in my old bedroom. That pink wallpaper I used to hate suddenly meant everything. It is funny how places become a part of you without your realizing it. Story 49. The time in your life when you turn 18 in Germany, which may be different in other countries, and society shifts from "we care about you" to "figure it out." Story 50. You just do not realize how much time has passed until it hits you one day. The people you love will not be around forever. Story 51. Even as an adult, at times you will feel left out and excluded. It is upsetting. I guess I thought that this only happened to young children. Story 52. My mother died when I was 13 after a nearly 10-year illness, and all my grandparents were deceased by my late 20s. My father died when I was 46 following an 8-year battle with Alzheimer's disease. I had to grow up much earlier than my peers. For example, my husband is 43 and has only lost one grandparent so far. Story 53. Relationships are hard. Friendships and dating are both much more difficult to maintain outside of school. Story 54. Realizing we have not truly talked to a person in our friend group for over 4 years now, and that is considered normal because all of us are busy with life. Friendships do not last forever. It is not as if we had a huge argument. It just faded naturally. Story 55. I did not anticipate becoming the only living member of my family left at such a young age. It is sincerely soul-crushing, especially if you had been close to your family. Story 56. You are actually just one in many. You might be top of the class and the most beloved child in your family, but when compared to thousands of other people, you are just about average and no one cares about your talent. Story 57. May your young dreams always remain within your reach, no matter how hard you try. The things you thought you would do when you got older or the places you would go will never fade and will always stay alive. Story 58. How cautious you have to be all the time, never free enough to be your true self, even around people close to you. Story 59. If they and you live long enough as their eldest and next of kin, you have the responsibility of informing your other parent and siblings that a decision on do not resuscitate is required within the next 10 minutes. Story 60. You will reach a point in your time on this planet where life will stop giving you things and instead start taking them away. My father died of dementia. My mother died of colon cancer. My dear, beloved younger sister was murdered. The only reason I do not take my own life is so I can leave as much wealth to her children as humanly possible. Story 61. Life does not necessarily get better. Growing up in poverty, surrounded by people who care more about numbing their own pain than providing and caring for you, is not the lowest point. Most people are not capable of changing. You may never be happy. You might suffer throughout your whole life. That is just the reality. Story 62. Realizing you have fallen in love with someone who does not feel the same. You do not learn how to avoid accidentally doing it until you experience it. Story 63. Your parents get old and you cannot do anything about it. I talk to my dad on the phone once a week, but might see him once a year because he works away. This man has broken his back and damaged his knees, requiring the removal of his kneecaps and cartilage. He has had a 16-foot trailer fall on him and has cut arteries more times than should be possible. He now has both knees replaced and has 6 titanium vertebrae. A few months ago, he said he had to take 2 days off because he had the flu. For reference, he took 5 days off when he had his vertebrae replaced. I realized then that he is old, and there will come a time when those phone calls will stop. Story 64. Regrets. I am jealous of people who say they have no regrets. I feel like I cannot make a good decision to save my life. In fact, I am alive, but I am not living. I am just working to pay bills so I can go back to work to stay alive. There were many opportunities where I could have made better decisions for a better outcome. Oh well, work until I die. It hurts knowing I am a failure. Story 65. Safety is a construct. It does not exist. You are practically floating on an iceberg in the middle of shark-infested waters, and the only one with the ability to protect you is you. At no moment are you 100% safe, and nothing is ever guaranteed. All it takes for your life to fall apart is a split-second decision from someone else or the smallest mistake. Story 66. Not sure if this applies, but do not get a tonsillectomy as an adult instead of as a child. It was the worst pain I have ever felt in my entire life, and it lasted over a week. Story 67. I have a very large family. 20 years ago, Sundays were for showing up between 2 and 4, having some drinks, playing ping pong and pool, dinner at 6:30, and having a great time. Sometimes there were 10 of us, as I only lived 8 minutes away, so we went almost every Sunday. Sometimes it was 35 to 40 people, some traveling from other states as part of a short or long vacation. Now I am 56, and we only meet at funerals and weddings. It is sad. I just attended a funeral yesterday for a child in the family and got to see many people, but funerals are not the same as just hanging out. Story 68. When you suddenly understand your mother's boring conversations about grocery prices and cleaning products. I caught myself getting excited about finding a good deal on paper towels the other day. Teenage me would be so disappointed. Story 69. No one will save you but yourself, even when you are homeless through no fault of your own. It is not like in the movies where someone gets physically hurt. In my case, I was injured at work with no recourse, and needs their significant other, family, and friends who all come running with love and support. Some significant others will even leave you for someone else when you cannot take care of yourself. This happened to me because of the injury. We were together for 9 years and lived together for 8.5. I am finally starting to heal, but it was too late. I lost everything and almost everyone. I have one friend left, my best friend of 30 years, and that is it. Can be a cold world out there. There are good people, though, and I have been helped more by strangers like people on Reddit than anything else. That is truly a beautiful thing. My point still stands. You can lose people you are close to if you become burdened with problems. I walk a straight line. I do not understand. I do not think I am a bad person or an asshole. A lot has happened in a short period of time, and I have overcome much of it, only to find myself basically alone while trying to pull myself up by the bootstraps. It is lonely and not easy, but I am not giving up. Story 70. From the perspective of Generation X, going from being entirely relevant to being incredibly irrelevant. Story 71. When your children grow up quickly and change from sweet, little ones who love you deeply into teenagers who dislike your presence. Story 72. Learning that at a certain point you become the driver of your life, and if you fail miserably, only you can ultimately accept fault. This is paired with the fact that very few actually succeed. Story 73. Unlike horror games or horror movies, the scariest parts of life need to be done and cannot be avoided. Story 74. Everyone else's comments are serious, and the first thing that came to my mind sounds silly now. When you start your menstrual period and experience quick, sharp pains in your anus, it feels like being struck with lightning. Story 75. Nobody ever told me there were conditions like endometriosis. They said periods hurt, you'd cramp and be uncomfortable, sure fine whatever. That's not how it was for me. Periods hurt. I would throw up, pass out, and be unable to move for long stretches of time. I thought this was supposed to be normal. The pain just kept getting worse until I was finally put on birth control to help level the playing field. Well, it turns out birth control only helps some people with endometriosis, and it more than likely causes more problems. Even if it helps in the beginning, it won't last long. So now I'm back to square one, having to figure out when I can schedule a hysterectomy because I would sooner shoot myself than go through another year of daily agony. Story 76. Realizing you wasted your potential for years and are stuck in a rut of loneliness, just working to pay bills. Story 77. Your body lets you down to the point where you need different medications to keep the pain away. It just hurts. Story 78. How little regard people give to their loved ones in staying alive. Cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, reckless living, and so on. You cannot make them stop. You can only watch as it happens. My father had heart trouble. He lived alone across the country. I practically begged him to sell everything and move near me to move in with me. He did not. Story 79. A lot of your greatest fears can happen to you. I mean, I am only 18, so of course I have not fully realized many growing up truths. However, this is one that hit me hard after one of my greatest fears did happen to me, and I did not even realize it until later. It is a really strange feeling to know how quickly something like that can just happen and change you. Story 80. Your ideal family size might never be realized. I had a rough pregnancy and a cesarean section. I always wanted a big family. I also wanted to adopt or foster. I grew up in an abusive environment. I worked in mental health childcare. I would provide the adoptee or foster children with whatever resources they needed to heal and cope. I lived my life making decisions to support a big family and becoming a healthy and safe adult. In the same week, I was told not only will I be limited in how many biological children I can have, my partner said they actually do not want to adopt or foster. So my dream of 3 to 5 children went down to 1 or 2 if I am lucky. It is a strange form of grief as I hold and love my newborn. He might be the only child I have. My relationship with him will not be affected by this news, but it feels like a bit of my soul has been dimmed. So yes, it is a painful thing to let go of what you decided was right for you and how you wanted to experience this one life. As a child, I thought each family had the right amount of children they were meant to or wanted. Story 81. If you do not make many friends in high school or post-secondary education, it can be difficult to have close friends when working full-time. Story 82. Not being able to hear certain voices again is difficult. There are a few people I wish I could call just to hear them speak. Story 83. I am so grateful that both my parents and my in-laws are alive, but I could lose them any day, and that possibility becomes more real as time goes on. I do not know what I am going to do without them. Story 84. You do not always get to do the job you love, at least not right away and sometimes not ever. It can take much longer to achieve what you wanted to do, and your life plans do not always work or require way more work than you expected. You will often feel stuck with no light at the end of the tunnel. Story 85. No matter whose fault something really is, if it affects you negatively, it is your own responsibility. However, if it affects you positively, it is because someone helped you. Story 86. For those of us who graduated in 2008, it does not matter how clever you are. Sometimes world events or sheer bad luck will prevent you from progressing in life. Having access to money is the biggest thing that will help you. Story 87. Losses. The author Judith Viorst, known for Alexander's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, wrote a book called Necessary Losses. It is about the people and things we lose along the way, which are just part of living into adulthood. I am older than many of you. Beginning around the late 1980s and early 1990s, many of the elderly people who had been parts of my life's foundation began to pass away. My first profound loss came when I was around 10, when I lost my favorite uncle and my beloved cat in the space of a summer. In my young adulthood, each year there were fewer great aunts and great uncles at our family reunions. Celebrities, too. The day Lucy died, I had told myself years prior that I would know I was really an adult when Lucy passed. Then it happened. Now, I am blessed to still have my mother and my stepfather. I have one aunt, two uncles by marriage, and, incredibly, a sister-in-law of my father, his eldest brother's widow, who is around 98 or 99. And that is it. Many people in my mother's generation are gone. It is about our turn, my generation. I have also lost a young adult child. I have lost my youth, friendships that used to be everything, and opportunities. I have lost time wasted focusing on unimportant things instead of what matters. I have not taken chances I should have taken. That is what is hard for me. It hit me not long ago. When we feel nostalgic for a time, place, or person, what we are really missing, at least in part, is the version of ourselves who occupied that space and time. Story 88. Just randomly got that John Mellencamp song in my head. Life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone. It hit me hard now that I am at that point in my life where everything seems like responsibility instead of prioritizing fun. Story 89. The worst part is how you simply drift away from your friends. No arguments, no falling out, you just one day stop talking. One day turns to two, then months, then years go by. You then wake up and realize you have not talked to your good friend in years. Story 90. Most people are happy for you while you are doing as well as they are, or if they are doing better than you. Once they feel like you are doing better than them, problems arise. Story 91. Your friends will repeat what they hear on the news and become angry endlessly over politics that barely affect their lives. Story 92. The moment you realize your childhood was not normal and was actually filled with almost daily abuse and neglect. Story 93. All of the self-aggrandizing, narcissistic, self-praising nonsense about how great humans are is all a load. This race and this civilization economy really, as we do not actually have a civilization beyond the economy now, are all terrible no matter how many films or other media try to portray us positively. Story 94. Life does not stop if you are having a bad day. You are still expected to show up and try hard. It is relentless when everything continuously goes against you, and all you can do is wake up and face it. Story 95. There comes a point in your life when you are just expected to know how things work. How life works, how relationships work, how taxes work, how inheritance works, how oil changes work, and so on. All the important aspects of day-to-day life we are never taught by our parents or schools. We are just expected to know. Heaven forbid you admit you do not know anything. What, you are a 25-year-old man who does not know how to do your taxes? What is wrong with you? Well, who tried to teach me, or at least tell me it is something that needs to be learned? Story 96. Your parents spend a lot of energy on you with no expectation of anything in return. You do not really appreciate this until they die and no one fills that role. Story 97. I would have the freedom to buy anything I want, but no money to buy it. I would have to prioritize my adult responsibilities over simply acquiring things I find cute and funny. Story 98. It becomes infinitely more difficult to try again when things do not go your way. It is not easy to just get back up and keep going in the same direction or pursue the same goals. You have to seriously reevaluate and, at times, accept that certain things are no longer realistic options, or at least not options with the same ease as before. Story 99. Literally all of it, once you realize how strong adults in your life had to be to make you have this idealistic idea of the future, it breaks your heart too. Story 100. Being independent instead of needing support made me aware of who they really were and what family truly means. Absolutely nothing. Story 101. Sometimes your friends outgrow you, and sometimes you outgrow them. It is not that you do not get along, not that you had a fight, it is just that your interests no longer align and you gradually lose touch. It is no one's fault, but it still hurts. Story 102. Extended family getting farther away. Remembering the days when our extended families went to our grandparents' house to celebrate holidays. Now our children and grandchildren come to our house, and our cousins' grandchildren go to their houses. Story 103. Seeing friends drift away with their own lives. At best, they live in another city now and are too busy at work to hang out but still keep in touch. At worst, they change for the worse and you are forced to cut them out of your circle when they become too toxic and unpleasant to be around. Story 104. How much things really cost and the value of money. It's not just there, you have to earn it. This one hit me early. My dad had a very well-paying job. We weren't rich, but my sister and I never went without, and if we wanted something, we always got it. My mom stayed at home and we traveled a lot. Then, when I was 12, he got injured and went on disability. Later, he lied when it was over, saying they fired him when he actually quit. My mom ended up leaving him and taking me and my sister to Texas for family support. She only made $10 per hour. I got a job at 14, then had to drop out and get a full-time job when my sister got pregnant, had him, and just disappeared. However, it was a humbling experience. It made me appreciate things more, and honestly, I feel bad for people who come from wealth and never have to worry because they will never truly appreciate anything. They won't ever know how proud you are when you get your first paycheck, buy your first car, and so on. Story 105. Mean girl friendships that end badly. To this day, it is still hard for me to form friendships with women. I am always expecting betrayal, talking behind my back, or some other nonsense. Catching glimpses of Real Housewives on television triggers me because these are women behaving like they belong in high school. Story 106. Menopause. No one talked about it. No aunts, no older ladies in the neighborhood. Nothing. It is the worst, most horrific thing to happen to my body in my life, and I have had 2 unrelated cancers and 5 different surgeries. I am upset that no one warned me. Story 107. Life is unfair. The rich are wealthy while the poor are not. Do not get me wrong. I know that we can improve. It is just that it will really take a long time and all of your energy to get there. Story 108. I am scheduled to do genetic testing to see if I have the Alzheimer's genes or any other markers for dementia. If the results are positive, then I will be going through what my grandmother is currently experiencing. The thought scares me greatly. Story 109. Most of my family members are older, so one day when I have children, they will not have grandparents or great-grandparents to celebrate with. My grandmother passed away a few years ago at 95. My father passed away last year at 64, and my mother turns 66 this month. I am 23 and nowhere near ready to have children. It makes me very sad to see all my friends who have younger families. Story 110. I think the realization that you only get to experience childhood once. Of course, I was never under the impression that I would get a chance to do it again, but it is more the sudden realization in your early 20s that it is well and truly gone. You are an adult now, and there is no going back. Story 111. Literal growing pains woke me up from my sleep crying when I was 12 because it felt like I was being stabbed between my thighs. Story 112. Each year, your options diminish. You miss another opportunity, so to speak, and constantly feel behind. I assume options will run out soon, and there will be nothing left. Story 113. It's very difficult to juggle relationships. I am lucky to have a big family and a good number of friends. However, you literally have 2 days a week to try and socialize, as I am personally too drained to do it after work. All these people also have only 2 days, and what if they work shifts? Story 114. Time will pass. Enjoy today as much as you can because today is the youngest we can be. We are today the youngest we will ever be. Do not waste it. Story 115. There will be a time when I watch Nickelodeon, Nick at Night, and Disney Channel shows with my family for the last time. Story 116. All the striving I did in school and other forms of achievement ended up totally useless. I was basically groomed to be an effective cog in a genocidal empire, which is bad enough on its own, but it also came at great expense to my social life and spiritual development. I would have been better off smoking weed in culverts, researching and experimenting with things I actually cared about. I should have made the most of my youth and health instead of prematurely grinding myself into a husk for some miserable old person's idea of a good life. Story 117. Losing a friend and feeling the time they never got to have. When I was 19, a friend of mine who was 17 died in a car accident. Now, 10 years later, it hurts more in a strange way because I know the life he did not live between 17 and 27. It is a unique sting you feel for those who die young. Story 118. Realizing your parents are people too. Flawed, not always heroes, and definitely do not always have the right answers. Story 119. If you think everyone has the same heart as you will be really disappointed. Some people just do not know what love is, and sometimes it is hard to shelter yourself from that. Story 120. Sometimes you make all the right moves and still lose. You can be a good person and still make bad choices. Story 121. Freedom is not entirely real. We have to assert our rights or we will not have them. I grew up being told this was a free country. But you cannot really go anywhere in the world and do what you want, unless what you want is normal and accepted by the social order. I thought property rights protected us, but it seems the state ultimately owns everything. The bank also wants it. You cannot simply own land and do what you like with it. The state even thinks it owns your body. I do not like that. There is nowhere to be free. From day one, we are being claimed. To be free, you have to believe you deserve it. Story 122. Watching your parents age while simultaneously watching your children grow, and then suddenly you are 50 years old. Story 123. People you love and care about drift apart, and it is really no one's fault. I just reconnected with an old friend I have known for 20 years, and we live 8 miles from each other. Different colleges, making your own friends, finding a partner, having a child, and bam, a decade moves by without us even realizing it. We picked up right where we left off the last time we saw each other. But once life starts happening as an adult, there are no breaks and no timeouts. Now take that one friend and multiply it by the number of friends you have. It happens so quickly. Your parents and other family members start declining in health. The image you have as a child evaporates. All of this sounds bad, and it is, but it is a condition every human has had to face. No one gets buried without scars. Color flooded back into life when my wife and I had our first child. You get to live it again, God willing, with a healthy child and a person you love. The grass is green where you water it. Story 124. Putting your pet down. My cat, age 24, had been declining for a while. I was hoping she would pass in her sleep at some point, but that did not happen. It reached a point where continuing was no longer in her best interest. It is hard to describe the difficulty of making that decision when their health slowly deteriorates. Where is the cutoff? Is it the eye drops? The twice-a-day pills? How much muscle mass loss is too much when she is still running and jumping? When she needs fluids through an intravenous line twice a week? I probably waited too long, to be honest. Being 34, she had been with me through every major event since puberty. It was hard to say goodbye and remains difficult to think about. Then there are the practical parts. Making the appointment to put them down, driving them there, deciding what to do with their remains, and so on. Being there and holding them when it happens was the easy part for me. Story 125. The realization and acceptance that good and bad are qualifiers we were never meant to know or understand is important. Judgments about life being good or bad are unnecessary and work against human interests because the only requirement for a life to be meaningful is to live in the first instance. Good and bad are concepts we were never meant to comprehend, yet we assign meaning based on these levels. I think, therefore I am. That should be enough, as that is all that is required. Instead, we add unnecessary ideas like, I give to charity, therefore I am good. No, you are good because you live. Life with nothing else is innately good. Life is nothing without living, and that is all that is required. Simply to live should be enough. Story 126. The way your metabolism betrays you. I used to demolish entire pizzas at 2 a.m. and wake up fine. Now I eat a slice of cake after 7 p.m., and my body acts like I have committed a war crime. Story 127. People come and go, and most of the time you are on your own. I am not saying that you will not have friends. It is that, because of maturity, you realize that you cannot really depend on other people because they are also dealing with their own lives. Story 128. 3 years ago, when I was 55, my husband's parents and my parents all died in the same year. We were not prepared emotionally. I feel like I am just now starting to find my footing. I really had no idea how much this would hurt, and I miss them terribly. Story 129. No one told me how bad it would hurt when my childhood pets passed away. All the help and hope they gave me through such hard years. The babies who helped me raise myself. Story 130. How much longer it takes to recover from minor injuries once you are over 30, and how much worse it gets each decade after that. Story 131. Parenting through my child's cancer was something no one could have prepared me for. Watching my mother decline with her dementia was equally difficult. Story 132. Watching your parents age and eventually losing them has been the hardest part for me. I knew it would be hard, but you do not really know until you are in it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.